Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of Coffee with the Commish. Appreciate everyone's patience with the videos. I know we've been doing a lot of shorts while I was at the World Baseball Classic, but I just got home and I wanted to jump on with my guy Joe and at least bring you a game preview and look at some player props tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Brooklyn Nets game. So without further ado, I'll bring Joe back on. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Last week wasn't, or 2 weeks ago wasn't too good with Doncic and Ingram going down, but I'm here to help again. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, a couple of near misses, but the life of betting on sports, right? We're betting on human beings, and both of those plays were on track. So let's take a look at this game and let's see if you can get back on track, because I know you had a couple of really good weeks the first couple of weeks that we had you on the show. So Cavs Nets tonight. Cavs favored by 4 points. Over under in this game set at 219. Obviously, plenty of star power. We're looking at guys like Mitchell, Garland, Spencer Dinwiddie has been an absolute monster in the assist department as of late. Mikal Bridges playing exceptionally well since he got over to the Brooklyn Nets. Where's your head at in this one? Some key matchups. Any player props sticking out to you?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me is that Brooklyn has kind of come down from that initial shock of the trade for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They're on a 4-game losing streak. Obviously, that's not great. I don't see it letting up anytime soon. Obviously, they're going to win a few more games down the stretch. But right now, they're kind of back down to earth where they have no all-stars. They're all solid players, but there's nobody that's going to go out and push them over to making the playoffs. So I do have Cleveland covering here. For the matchups, Mikal Bridges versus Donovan Mitchell is really a key one that I like to look at. Donovan Mitchell last game against the Brooklyn Nets had 31 points. So he did his thing against Mikal Bridges, but don't sleep on Mikal's defense. That's what he's known for. That's why he got an extension. That's just who he is. Then the next one I've got is Darius Garland and Spencer Dinwiddie. So Spencer Dinwiddie, he's a decent defender. His defensive rating is around 118 this season, which is kind of middle of the pack. And so I really like Darius Garland hitting the over on 20.5 points. I also like Darius Garland hitting over 1.5 threes. So that's kind of what I got for those two. Then the next one that I've got too is Nick Claxton. So he had 13-8 last game against Cleveland, but I really do like the defensive power that Evan Mobley and Jared Allen have. They're both very good defenders. They defend at a high level. They close down the paint. They suffocate you. So I do like Claxton under 11.5 points there. So, I mean, other than that, a few little things. Cleveland's 7-3 in their last 10 games. So they're getting pretty hot. Their playoff implications are a lot bigger for Cleveland because obviously they're trying to fight for a better seed, because those lower teams in the East aren't very good. And with the Knicks getting hot as of recent, that's a team that you don't really want to match up with in the first round. So yeah, that's what I've got for this game.
A couple of interesting points. So you mentioned Garland over on the points, over on the threes, and then Claxton under on the points. We go back to Garland. If we take a look here, that last game against the Nets, blow this up a little bit so people can see better, but 17 points on a night when he took only 13 shot attempts. And if you look at his recent game logs before that, 19, 17, 15, 20, 16, 18, a lot of shot attempts, as many as 21 back on March 1st against the Celtics. This is a guy who should shoot the ball more than he did the other night. I'm in agreement with you. I think this is a decent matchup for him. The over 20.5 points, in my mind, makes a good amount of sense. I cashed on Mitchell over on his points a couple of days ago, but I think Garland will be the way that I'm looking in the rematch between these two teams. What you mentioned, the Claxton under 11.5 points, and you mentioned Cleveland's ability to suffocate guys in the paint. When you look at what they've done for the season, opponent field goal percentage in the restricted area, which a guy like Nick Claxton, that's where a lot of his shots come from, being a guy who doesn't shoot from the perimeter. Cleveland, third best opponent field goal percentage in the league this season in that area of the floor. So other than Charlotte and Memphis, they've been doing a great job around the rim, keeping guys from getting easy buckets. So we go back and we look at the hit chart for him. 54% for Claxton on the season, but not the easiest of matchups. And if we go back and we look at what some big men have done, it's Cleveland always has trouble with guys like Embiid, but similar type of archetypes of players. They've had a decent amount of of success against. And if you go look at the forward position, same way, a decent amount of X's here looking at props.cash. So I think the matchup analysis supports the under 11.5 there, the Garland over 20.5. Again, similar type of hit rate around 50%, but the volume should be higher tonight. I think he's got the easier of the two matchups between him and McCall as well. And then the threes, like you mentioned, I think this is a great parlay piece for anyone who's interested. Minus 190, 70% hit rate on the season. You can see the implied odds on that, minus 232. So if you want to throw that into a parlay, I think that makes a lot of sense as well. Side in this game, it sounds like you are leaning Cleveland.
Yeah, I gotta go with Cleveland. I mean, Brooklyn being on a 4-game losing streak kind of speaks big volumes to where they're at as a team right now. Obviously, I love some of the pieces that they have. They just don't have that star power. Mikal Bridges will be that for them next year. He's been that since the trade. But there's a lot more riding on this game for Cleveland. They've got to win out. Obviously, they're not going to win out, but they've got to steal as many of these games as they can. And this is a very winnable game for them that, I mean, if they lose, then that'll, I mean, I'd lose a lot of confidence in Cleveland if they lost this one, because this seems like one of those games that can really boost them in the rankings. So yeah, I'm going to go with Cleveland on this one.
You like them to cover the spread -4 or just
yeah, I do like them covering the spread. I'm not sure it'll be too close. I think it's really dependent on the Mikal Bridges versus Donovan Mitchell matchup. If Donovan Mitchell kind of does his thing and Mikal struggles today, then I could see him winning by a lot more than 4. So.
Yeah, I think one thing that was really interesting the other night is Brooklyn actually out-rebounded Cleveland 49-34. And Brooklyn's been terrible on the glass since all these trades. They lost Irving, they lost Durant. Cleveland's one of the better rebounding teams in the league. I know Mobley's been getting pulled away from the basket a little bit more as of late, but Cleveland won by 6 despite the fact that they were out-rebounded pretty substantially. Tonight, I think the rebounding disparity evens out a little bit. Cleveland, by far the better team. You mentioned the playoff aspirations. I know both teams are in the postseason, but Cleveland is still a team that has championship aspirations this year. Brooklyn, obviously not. They're going to be in the postseason because they banked so many wins with Durant and Irving on the floor, but they're just not as good of a team. They lack a lot of depth. If they can cut off either Bridges or Dinwiddie, there's just not a lot of other diversity that they can look to for putting the ball in the basket. Claxton is one of those guys. He's definitely up there in terms of scoring on this team, but tough matchup for him in the paint against Allen and Mobley. So for me, I lean the same way. I think Cleveland -4 in this spot. Any thoughts on the total, or are we just getting out of here and looking at the spread and the player props that you mentioned?
See, I don't really like the total too much. That's just because, you never know what happens in these back-to-back games where they're playing each other on a second time. I mean, there could be one adjustment that they make where, I mean, the total couldn't hit, or, I mean, Brooklyn, they might not hit shots. So I think we're good. I think we're good there. I don't want to make any guesses on that one. So
yeah. Well, sounds good. Just to recap for everyone, Joe, his 3 player props tonight, he's taking Garland over on his points. He's going under on Claxton's points. And if you want that parlay piece, Garland's 3s, he's going over 1.5 there. For myself, Darius Garland over 20.5 points as well. And then both of us are taking Cleveland -4 on the spread in the spot. General programming note, Coffee with Commish, the player props will be back tomorrow every day at noon. Just been very, very tough with the World Baseball Classic and having to be there and covering those events to get those out. So that'll be back to normal tomorrow. And then we'll have plenty of MLB content opening day, only a week away. Joe, appreciate you joining us. Guys, continue to check out his content. Very, very sharp basketball mind. I know he's not well known in the gambling Twitter community, but a young guy with a ton of promise in the space, and very grateful to have him joining the show with us once a week. So appreciate you, Joe. Appreciate everyone who supports and watches. Hopefully we'll be back recapping a winning night next time we have Joe on next week. Until next time, guys, best of luck.